The bears in the Smoky Mountains are a lie. Hey everyone, welcome to Read the Room with your host Alexis Reed, and if you're new here, welcome. As I said, I'm Alexis, and this is a space to get perspective, insight, wisdom on navigating life from one life to another. So from me to you. And if you're returning, I'm so glad you came back. Thank you. And thank y'all so much for the love y'all gave me on my first episode. I had such a great week last week, and I'm excited to do number 2. So let's get into it. Something that I want to implement that I didn't get to do in episode 1, but something I do want to do moving forward is check-ins. One of my favorite professors and one of my favorite classes I've taken in college, we would do this at the beginning of every class. And it was just a check-in 1 to 5, and everybody would go, and it was such a great way to start the day. So I'm going to check in with myself, and I'm going to give you the space to do it for you as well, wherever you are. So on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being down bad, 5 being up good, where are you today? I would say right now, I am a 4.5. Last week was really, really good. This week is another really good week. It's going to be a great week. Next week is going to be good. Like the rest of December is just looking good. It's the holiday time. It's my favorite time of year. So I have a lot to just look forward to that I'm very excited for. And as y'all see, I have some of my own equipment. I got my own mic. I got my own little tripod that my phone is on right now. I got some other stuff, and I'm working my way up. Again, starting where we are. I'm just very excited, very happy to be here. You know, I'm feeling good. And as you may see, I'm not in the usual setting. This is gonna change a bit. For those of you who don't know, I am not at home. I am kind of displaced. I am displaced right now. We've been in the hotel for 2 months because the water line in our fridge ruptured. So it's been kind of weird at home, or it's been inconvenient. Insurance has us in the hotel. They're paying for everything, which is great. But we've been in this hotel. So that's why the setting looks different. It's going to look different. It's going to be inconsistent, but it's still going to be cute every time, because I'm not going to be out here looking crazy. So that's just a little disclaimer. As the year ends, this will be the last y'all see of me until 2024, until the new year, which is sad. I know, don't miss me too much. But of course, as 2023 comes to a close, I have to do some reflecting, and I'm going to do it with you all. And that's going to be the topic around today, because boy, was it a year. It was a year for sure. Lots of great things happened this year, lots of unexpected things, many accomplishments, many losses. But I'm still ending it grateful, because I feel better now than I did since April, truthfully. So today we're going to get into 23 things that I took away from 2023. Let's get into it. My 23 takeaways, starting with number 1. 2 things can be true at once. Now, I say this a lot, but I feel as though this year I actually allowed myself to live this out. We'll also see this as a theme through many other points, like number 2, which is it may be your intuition and it may be your trauma, and sometimes it can be both. There are things that happened this year where I thought I was projecting, or I thought I was anxious, or it triggered me, and it very much still was my intuition, even though those things were very true and pertinent. And I would explain this to my therapist, and she would tell me it can be both. And even though it is a trigger, it still can be something that you're actually trying to grapple with or anxious about, and also your intuition telling you something. Yeah, going with the whole 2 things can be true at once. It can be your intuition, and it also may be your trauma, and it can be both. Those things can intersect. Number 3, even with anticipating or mentally preparing for something, it can still throw you, and it can still be hard, and it doesn't mean that you were unprepared or you didn't see it coming. This I think about particularly with all the transitions that happened this year. So with graduation, with relocating, and grad school, with summer, there were things that I actively knew were going to happen. If you go to college, the goal is to graduate. You know what's going to happen. You're only there for approximately 4 years, some more, some less, right? And you don't think about it all the time, obviously, because you don't want to torture yourself. But my last year, really my junior year, I became very hyper aware of what was going to be coming because half of my friend group graduated a year early. So that put me in the headspace of, oh, I'm going to be in a very similar position and starting to kind of anticipate things. And as I said in the last episode, I like to be prepared. I like to know what I'm getting myself into. I like to have a plan for everything. And even if something doesn't happen, I at least want to have the idea of it so I can know how I'm going to respond. And that was something that I wanted to kind of pivot from for graduation because there's really nothing you can anticipate with that. And it's something that's so jarring and happens so quickly where there's only so much preparing or planning you can do. And it's nice to know what you're going to do, but there's certain things you're just not going to be able to plan for. And it doesn't mean that you didn't think about it or you were unprepared or that things aren't going to be hard if you did all that you could. You did exactly that. You did all that you could. I think about that and think about how gracious I was with myself. I tried to be with myself in this season more than other seasons where it was a transitional time and I was kind of harder on myself or I didn't allow myself to really experience the things that I didn't anticipate, or I was down on myself because I'm like, well, why am I still experiencing this? If I prepared or if I would have prepared better, then maybe I wouldn't have to be dealing with this. No, that's not true. So that's definitely something in this most recent transition I've had to be more patient and gracious with myself for. And something I definitely did take away because it doesn't mean I wasn't unprepared. I graduated, I moved back home. I ended up being in a gap year. And not even with transitioning, but it can also be with hard conversations with people or things you know are going to happen, relationships that you know have to end, boundaries you know you're going to have to set. Like you can anticipate all of that and prepare to the best of your ability. And still, it just may not go the way you thought. And that's okay. Number 4. Very good and very low moments can coincide. As I said, I just graduated. A lot happened around that time. A lot happened during the summertime. The middle of the year was not a great time period. Even though I had this great thing that just had happened, I was feeling very low. Graduation day was actually crappy too, which St. Edward's, and if you went to St. Ed's, you know. St. Edward's, I feel like really, y'all really gonna have to hash it out with God about what happened on May 6th. That was ridiculous. May 6th, 2023 was ridiculous. And I think about how graduation day was not great and everything that happened after graduation wasn't great, but all the stuff that did lead up to graduation, all the ceremonies we did have on campus, all the smaller things, all the more intimate gatherings and celebrations for seniors, stuff like that, those were really, really good. And those were really, really good moments. Those were really, really high moments. And spending time with the people that I love, the last moments on campus were really high, but graduation itself and then everything that happened after it wasn't. I graduated a week later. We had to put down my dog. I didn't plan for that. My dog got sick very quickly. And that just really set the tone for my summer. And so, very high moment. And came home and had a very low moment, and those two things can be true at once. It doesn't negate each other or doesn't mean because you're feeling down something good can also not be happening in the background and vice versa. And I think a lot of the times we can feel guilty or bad when something so good is happening but we don't necessarily feel it, or we don't feel like we think that we should or be celebrating in it in the ways that we thought or wanted to or envisioned for ourselves. That's something I tried to allow myself this year to recognize and be like, okay, very good and very low moments can happen at the same time, and it doesn't take away from one or the other. Which also goes into number 5. Compartmentalizing can be your friend. It does not have to be an unhealthy thing. Let me cook. Let me explain. Don't let a bad part of your week ruin the good that happened within it. And I tried to be hyper aware this year of if something bad happened, something threw me off of my day, something happened that just was, it sucked. It was crappy. Taking a moment and taking a beat and very much recognizing I have 2 options right now. I can either go run to the group chat, run to my mama, call my parents, complain, fuss, rant, cry, moan, whatever, and let that infiltrate and take more energy in my day. Or I can be like, you know what? That sucked. Take a beat, take a moment, and keep it rolling. And also allow the other good things that were going to happen in my day actually happen. And recognize it and allow them to happen and not let the sucky stuff infiltrate. It's easy to attach a negative instance to a whole time frame, but that honestly gives it more power than necessary. And as I said, I try to be conscious about it and then there's still times I slip up. Like there's still fully times where I do just want to complain and that's okay sometimes. Sometimes she's gonna get it out, and sometimes there may really be a whole crappy day, a crappy week, a crappy month, semester, whatever, where it's just stuff just keeps not working out for you. But I do try to reevaluate if it's just a crappy week or if it's really simply a crappy occurrence that I allowed to mess up the rest of my week. So that's something I also challenge you to think about too. Number 6, the bears in the Smoky Mountains are a lie. I went to the Smoky Mountains this summer with my dad's family for family vacation, and it was great, beautiful time. But as I feel like reasonable person would assume, you go to the Smoky Mountains, you're going to see a bear, particularly, hopefully, Smokey the bear. And we were there for a whole week. I didn't see one bear. How is it that we're going on hikes, trails, landmarks, whatever, and I don't see not one bear? Not one. That's ridiculous to me. What's the point? Truly, what's the point? And I'm the type of person, I like to go in nature and see animals and see creatures that necessarily I don't see in the city. New Orleans doesn't have a lot of woodland creatures or whatever, so even when going to like other places that may be big cities, seeing stuff like rabbits, like they have rabbits there. Rabbits, that was cool as hell to me. I love seeing rabbits out in the open in nature. We saw turkey. We saw other animals that were really cool. Why did I not see a bear? The bears and the bats under South Congress Bridge in Austin, they're in the same boat to me, because why do y'all keep faking me out? I have never seen it. To me, because I haven't seen it, it's a myth. And if y'all want to prove me different, then come out wherever you are, Mr. Smokey the Bear. Number 7, patterns don't lie. Actions reflect character and priority. Number 8, trust your intuition and gut. Always. Again, something that I feel like is very simple. It's said often, people always speak on it, but this truly and obnoxiously showed itself in my life personally this year. Y'all, I was gaslighting myself. I was thinking I was just anxious or projecting or crazy. I'm thinking I'm the drama. I'm thinking I'm the problem, but something kept not sitting right within me and inside of me. And I couldn't place my finger on that. There wasn't any like really hard evidence or facts to point to. And I don't want to be accusatory, so I just kind of let it rock. But boy, does the truth always come out. And everything came to light, and it made me feel so validated in all my feelings. And it made me realize that it wasn't just my anxiety. It wasn't a trigger. It wasn't me projecting. It was my intuition. And I always felt like it was my intuition. I felt like, it was my gut. And they say, listen to your gut, listen to your intuition. It won't lie to you. And I knew that. But this is, I think, the first time where I truly, truly saw for myself that it was me to myself telling me something was not right, get out. Because usually I don't have a problem following my gut or my instincts. And this was something that was just very challenging for me. And I'm not going to get into the details because that deserves its whole own other, that could be a whole series, child, what happened within this last month. But it made me realize that your intuition really will not lie to you. And all the gaslighting, thinking you're crazy, all this stuff that just doesn't feel right with you, doesn't feel right for a reason, and you may not be able to place your finger on it. But give it time, it will come out. And I felt so validated in that I was right the whole time. So listen to your intuition, please. Number 9, call a thing a thing. Don't let someone's personality or the way that they say something distract you from what it is that they're actually doing and saying. Manipulation is manipulation. Gaslighting is gaslighting. No matter how good they seem or how you've known them to be in the past, call a thing a thing. Call it what it is. This showed itself in my life personally, relationships, and then people who I thought were cool who ended up being really weird, or my friends came to me and told me some stuff and I was like, whoa. Yeah, this just showed itself a lot where people may not be the whole rah-rah, I'm the bad guy. Like, no one's ever gonna walk up to you and be like, oh, I'm bad for you, I'm evil, I'm not good. But pay attention to like what it is that they're actually saying, what they're speaking, what they're doing, and listen to that. Even if they seem cool, or they seem nice, or they don't seem like the type that would manipulate or gaslight, that doesn't always have to show itself in very aggressive ways. So just being mindful of that moving forward. 10. This is one of my favorite ones, I think. Thank God for not giving you what you thought you wanted. There were things, people that I thought I wanted, hands and knee, cried, prayed, please God, work it out. And it didn't. And I'm so grateful it did not. And this is going to go into number 11, which is let go of ideas of how you thought things were supposed to go or how you thought they'd be. The way things happened is how they were supposed to happen for one reason or another. I am a person who does not like change. I love consistency because, as I said, I like to plan for things. And if I can know what to anticipate and know how to prepare, then that's where I feel secure. And so if something is consistent, then obviously I can know how to prepare. So that makes me feel secure. And I'm not a big fan of change or stuff happening very abruptly, but something that I've always been told, my parents always told me, Alexis, you have to get comfortable with change, or you have to learn how to pivot. And in this transitional season, I've definitely had to get more comfortable with that. And this is something, again, basic. I feel like we hear a lot. Let go of how things are supposed to be, your idea of things, the way things are, the way they're supposed to be, all the stuff that sounds cute and good. But I had to truly grapple with this year, with grad school, with relationships, with my summer. There were things that I thought that, again, I hand and knees begged God, prayed, was hoping would turn out the way that I thought they were supposed to be, or that I wanted them to be so bad. And they just simply did not. And it worked out so much better in my favor. With grad school, I said in the last episode, I thought I was going to grad school this fall, and I'm taking a gap year right now, so I'm not going until next fall. And I'm so grateful. I got forced into that situation, but I'm so grateful. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Like, this gap year, it's already December. It's already December, child. By the time May comes around, I'm already gonna be packing up, getting ready to go to Arizona. I'm so grateful that I took this time for myself and that I'm able to now pour into things. I'm getting to do this podcast. I get to travel. I get to hang out with my friends. I get to do things that I love and like, and take this time to really learn more about myself outside of an academic setting. And I'm so grateful for that. And I thought I wanted to go straight through school and just get it all over with and keep the momentum going. But honestly, I feel like I would have burnt out if I would have just kept going straight through. I feel like I still would have enjoyed it, but I definitely had to be forced in the position to where I had no choice but to do a gap year. And I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful that I didn't get what I thought I wanted. I'm grateful for some relationships that ended that I thought I wanted so bad that I feel so free from now. And the burden is ripped off. And I just really get to live in peace and joy and light and just feel so much better. And I had that way down there take my energy. With the summertime, I thought my summer was going to be a certain way. I thought I was going to be teed up, celebrating graduation this summer, hanging out with my friends, traveling, going outside the country, whatever. That didn't happen at all. Like, at all. But now I have the gap year to really do what I want to do. So everything works out. Everything works out for one reason or another. Even if the way things happen were in an inconvenient or crappy way, it happened that way for a reason. I'll say that. It happened that way for a reason. And there's still something you can take away from it. Which goes into number 12. All of these I'm really just speaking to myself. Like, as I look down at my notes, I'm like, girl, I'm calling myself out. Number 12, stop forcing your way. I don't feel like I have to explain that after the last 3 points. Stop forcing your way. Let things flow. Number 13, I don't want to hang with the big kids. Let me explain. Me and my sister have a 12-year age gap. So with that being said, I always thought I was grown even if I was only 4 years old. Thus, making me want to hang out, fit in with the big kids or the teenagers. That's what I would call them. I'd be like, oh, I want to go with the teenagers. Because, I mean, they were teenagers when I was a kid. So I'll be like, oh, I'm a teenager. I thought I was 16 down. You cannot tell me any differently. I truly believe that in my heart of hearts and my souls of souls. I was 16 with my sister and them. So now, since I am of age and I can hang with them and I'm not going to be restricting them from getting anywhere, I'm not going to snitch, I can contribute, whatever, I do hang out with them, but the problem is I realized this year I don't really want to. The instance that made me realize this was my cousin's birthday brunch that happened in August or September. We went to her house after. And at her house, it was my sister and cousins, family, friends, people who I grew up with who are all older. They're all in their 30s now. And just sitting there, hanging with them, just observing. I couldn't really contribute much to this conversation because the stuff that they were talking about, I feel like I was in the middle of an Insecure episode. It was insane. I was just I very much clearly realized I do not want to deal with this. I don't want to be a big kid. I do not want to hang out. I do not want to deal with these woes or the stuff that they're dealing with in their 30s. I don't want to deal. And I just was sitting there gagged and then grateful for where I am. And even though I still feel like, oh my God, like I'm only getting older now, I'm gonna stay exactly where I am. Like me and my friends, baby, me and my age mates, we're gonna go get crumble, listen to some music in the car, and chill. That's exactly what I want to do. I'm okay with that. So no, I don't want to be with the big kids. I no longer desire to be older. And now that I can, I want to remain where I'm at because they ain't got anything going on that I want to worry about right now. There is nothing that they spoke about that I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool and nice. Well, like, having a house, a husband, the typical things. But other than that, you're good. You can keep that. Y'all can keep that. Number 14, don't put yourself through it twice. This is for all my anxious, overthinking, hyperanalyzing baddies and bruhs. I am one of them. Hi, my name is Alexis and I overthink. Thank you. This is a safe space. My therapist told me this actually the week before Thanksgiving. She told me very clearly, why are you putting yourself through it twice? Because I was telling her some things that I was anxious about, some things that I was worried about that, again, didn't feel right with me. This is all related to like the same situation. I was like, I just feel like something's gonna happen, something doesn't feel right. I'm worried about the holidays, something's gonna come up. Like I feel like something's gonna throw me off, right? And she was like, you worrying about it right now is gonna do what? And I was like, I mean, so if it does happen, I got a little bit of cushion. Like, at least I thought about it and I thought about how I would respond. She said a lot of the time we try to anticipate things in order to protect ourselves as a defense mechanism, which it very much is for me. And we try to do it to think, oh, well, if it does actually happen, then it'll soften the blow a little bit or it won't be as bad. But that's not true because if it happens, it's still going to hurt. It's still going to sting. It may hurt a little bit less, but it's still going to be something that we have to go through. And then if it doesn't happen at all, then we just put ourselves through all that mental torment for what? So she was like, do not put yourself through it twice. If you do have to go through it, going through it once is enough. And I was like, yeah, girl, you kind of ate me up. I see why I pay you every 2 weeks. So yeah, 14, do not put yourself through it twice. Number 15, advocate for yourself, make your needs and standards known, and then, if they're still not met, dip. You're waiting around for something that may never come. Number 16, allow yourself to be seen, treated, and poured into. Receive love unconditionally. I intentionally said receive love unconditionally, not receive unconditional love, because those are two different things. Receiving love unconditionally means you are able to allow people to pour into you, to love on you, and not automatically think, oh, what am I doing to receive this? Am I worthy of this? I need to reciprocate back to them in order to make myself seem worthwhile or in order to give them back what they're giving me. Which, yes, you should reciprocate. You should reciprocate the love and the things that people pour into you. You should pour back into other people. That's how a relationship works. However, there is a differentiation between doing that out of wanting to reciprocate in a relationship and doing that in order to feel like that's the only way you earn your worth in a relationship. This also allows us to remain aware of all the ways love comes at us, all the ways that we can be receptive to it and how to be receptive to it. Because if you're constantly in the space of receiving love and allowing people to pour into you and love on you, then it also makes you hyper aware of all the things that do actually pour into you, the people who make you feel good, the places that you feel seen or safe. And hopefully then that makes you want to remain in those places or also acknowledge what fills you up and what makes you feel good. It also teaches you how to better love yourself and how to show love to yourself. When you allow yourself to be loved on, you're subconsciously telling yourself, I'm worthy of this. I deserve this. I deserve to be poured into. I deserve these people around me. And there's nothing that your accolades, your status, who you are, nothing that you can do to truly earn real love. I think about all the ways that love is shown. It also reflects, oh, that makes me feel good. What else can I do for myself? And how can I love on myself? That's also reflective of the love that's shown to me and poured into myself. And new ways that I got exposed to because of the relationships I'm in or the things I'm involved in, the hobbies, whatever it may be. So allow yourself to be treated and seen and poured into and to receive that love because you are so worthy of it and you deserve it. And that can be very hard to receive love. This is going to be like a little sidebar. This is something else me and my therapist talked about. My therapist came up a lot in these notes. I'm glad that it's working. But me and my therapist also talked about this where sometimes you may say what you need or you can state your needs, but people may not know how to actually meet them or they may not know exactly what to do to meet that need. Because I was telling her one day, I feel like I say what I need or I say I need help or I say X, Y, and Z and I communicate it and I still don't receive it. And she said, well, sometimes the issue can be, especially for people who oftentimes seem like they have it all together or they just end up picking up the slack and doing it anyways, or they are self-sufficient, they're independent, whatever the case may be, is that even when they say they need help, people do not know how to respond to that because they've seen them be independent for so long that they don't actually know what it is that they can do to help them, or they don't know like practical steps that they can take to help them. And sometimes it takes you having to say, I need help in these particular ways instead of just being like, I need help, because you may not even know really truthfully what you need help with. You just know you need help. So it takes time for you to reflect and see what it practically is you need help with, and then also communicate that next step to people to know what it is they can actually do to help you and serve you. And that was something that made me feel very seen and called out because it was true. Allow yourself to be treated and poured into, and with that, also being aware of what your needs are. It all kind of mingles together. Number 17. Fear is not the opposite of faith, but the absence of love. Oh, this is so good. I'm going to say this again. Fear is not the opposite of faith, but the absence of love. Now, this did not come from me. I did not make this up. Please do not give me the credit for this. This is from Dr. Anita Phillips, who is a psychologist, and she's also a woman of faith, and she intersects those things and talks about mental health and trauma and how it actually affects our body. And she did a sermon on this, and it was so good. It was one of my favorite things I listened to in 2023. And I even related to faith or Christianity or anything, but just period in general. Like, of all the people I heard speak this year, all the things I went to, this was one of my favorite messages I had heard. And it's because it was very real and it was so necessary. And it provided nuance and actual understanding that I feel like it's not spoken about a lot, especially in the church. The topic was around trauma and how trauma actually impacts our bodies. It changes our bodies. It changes how we think about things. It literally alters our mind and our brain, our chemistry, all of it. Particularly, this quote came from her talking about abandonment and trauma not being what happened, but the wound that it left. And it was just so good. And for me personally, it really resonated with me because a lot of the time growing up, especially when I was a teenager, I struggled with anxiety and I was very anxious. I overthought. I had a lot of uncertainty, and I would vocalize that to adults, vocalize that to my mom and my TD and my grandmother and people who are great women of faith. But a lot of the times they would tell me, and even it was this rhetoric in the church, you can have faith and fear at the same time. If you believe in God, if you trust in God, then you shouldn't be anxious. That means you don't actually have faith. Faith and fear can't coincide. But it messed me up, and that's something I carried with me literally recently, like into my 20s. And it always messed me up because they would tell me that, and they'd be like, just believe. And I'm just like, what do you mean? That did not solve my anxiety. That did not cure my feelings. That did not help me in any way. It just made me feel guilty or bad, or made me question myself and be like, do I not believe? Am I the drama? Am I the problem? Like, what's going on? And I had to get older and rework that, unwind that, the ideas, all the ideas that's associated with that, because feelings and emotions are just indicators of something that is really happening and what's going on. They're secondary. Me feeling anxious or feeling really big emotions when I'm a teenager navigating life, then being told that means just have faith, that doesn't actually implement any faith in me. Fear is not the opposite of faith, but the absence of love, it literally, it altered my brain chemistry in the best way, because it made me feel seen and it made me feel validated, and all the stuff that I felt when I was younger and growing up. And already I'm working that recently, but just having even more validated and actually knowing what she talked about in her sermon, knowing the science and stuff behind it. Oh my God, it was so great. Then the second part of, but the absence of love, and thinking about abandonment and thinking about triggers or trauma that's rooted in us, or things that have happened to us, and how love really is healing. There's experiential healing in relationship with people, and how you may be fearful of something, but love can fill that place up, or having a good experience can fill that up and diminish that fear a little bit. When we do have a fear, is often because there's an absence of something, or we're anticipating something, or there's no security, and love should bring you security. That's something I'm going to carry into the many, many years to come, and is literally imprinted on my mind. Number 18. As much as you try to avoid it, you can still fall into the tropes. I know. I hate it too. This is also a conversation that I had with my therapist, and I was explaining to her how I was so frustrated with myself, or I was frustrated because I felt like I was falling into a trope that I basically prided myself on for so long, of, oh, I don't deal with that, or oh, I understand that's a very real issue, but not in my life. I don't see that pattern. And the pattern very much showed itself this year. And I was so frustrated, because I'm like, how did this happen? How did this happen? And it was regarding daddy issues, and it started showing up in a relationship. And I was just so upset, because I'm like, this cannot be. I cannot be falling into the daddy issues trope of the men in your life are reflective of your father. No, the hell they're not. And I explained to her how that frustrated me so bad. I was so upset with myself, because I never thought the day would come where I willingly have somebody in my life who I'm choosing to have, that's not family, who's reflective of stuff that triggers me from my dad. And she was like, what happens to the best of us? Like, it is okay. It's that awareness where you can do something about it. And I think for me, the reason why it effed me up is because it wasn't a very blatant way. It wasn't like they had the same personality or the same demeanor or anything. It was the actions and the results of things that were similar, that were triggers for me. So not prioritizing, choosing career or other things over your family or your time, not being allocated in the right ways. And obviously they're not the same person. They don't have the same character. They're nothing alike, but the choices and the things that they do trigger the same thing in me, and that's what I don't like. And she has to very much reassure me that that is okay. Like, that's normal. It happens to the best of us, and the awareness of it is where we hold the power and we can make a shift. Yeah, that really did not like that. That's something I had to kind of grapple with again this year. Number 19, Megan Thee Stallion and Tim's are finer in real life. Love or hate Megan, you cannot deny that that's a beautiful woman. I love Megan. I love Tim's. I saw them at Essence this year. I went to Essence for the first time this year. It was great. Went to the Sunday show at the Superdome. My Nina got me tickets. We went. We being me and my cousin. And Megan was headlining, so she came out last, but Tim's came out before her. I was just so gagged, because I'm like, that's how she looks. Me and my cousin looked at each other, and my mouth was on the floor of the Superdome. Is that really how she looks? She was so bad. She looked so good. I had an idea of how Tim's looked, but I'm not thinking about that when I'm listening to You Don't Need No Other Body. I'm not thinking about, what she doing when she's singing. And I was just so gagged. And then Megan came out after her. I'm surprised the Superdome did not collapse that night, because of all the beautiful, fine, voluptuous, thick, beautiful women that were in that place. Megan came out and the pictures, Instagram does not do them justice. I feel like I say this every time I see a celebrity, but the pictures, Instagram, social media it doesn't capture the truth. It doesn't. And I was just screaming the whole time. And I don't know if I was screaming because of the songs, the music, the energy, or just because of how she was looking. Megan could have stood up there for an hour and just looked at us and I would have been hooting and hollering. It was insane. Yeah, I think about that often. My brain has not quite been the same since June. Number 20, being humble is not downplaying yourself. My good friend Kelsey said a couple years ago that being humble is taking up the exact amount of space that you're meant to. Nothing more and nothing less. That was just so amazing to me because oftentimes when being humble is talked about, it's people saying you need to be less than or downplay yourself or think yourself lesser than. And that's not what humble is. That's meekness. But that's not what being humble is. Being humble is taking up the exact amount of space that you're supposed to. Nothing more, again, and nothing less. Your accomplishments, your story, your experiences can help and encourage others. So do not limit yourself or do not limit what you share about yourself in a connection with somebody, because there is a way to be modest and genuine and authentic in the ways that you connect with people and talk about yourself without sounding flashy or arrogant or prideful or anything like that. This is something I've also had to kind of find a balance with, because there's often times where I held back and people will be like, well, why didn't you tell them X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, how do you mention that? How does that casually come up in the conversation? And there's been times where it has organically come up where you can share things that you've done, you've experienced that help connect you with other people and also allows them to share stories. But you also have to read the room with that and know when is the time to share about yourself and when it isn't, because that can get kind of tricky depending on the vibes or why someone is talking or coming to you. Yeah, being humble is not downplaying yourself. Don't downplay yourself. Don't play yourself. Number 21, bitterness is a choice. I got this from my grandmother a couple weeks ago. We sat down, we talked, caught up for a hot minute. Basically, it was a sister circle child. And she told me this. And at first, I can't lie, I was kind of hesitant. I kind of had my initial reservations because oftentimes when people state a feeling or emotion as a choice, I don't like that because, again, emotions and feelings are secondary. They're indicators of something that is very real of what's going on inside of you. So she was talking about bitterness being a choice, but I let her explain. And when she explained it, I was like, okay, I see. She was basically explaining how her and her siblings, there's 10 of them. So her 9 other siblings, they're all raised in the same house, close in age. Some of them close in age, but raised in the same house, same parents, brought up in the same ways and experienced a lot of the same childhood and traumatic things, but how each of them have handled it so differently. She thinks about her life and where she is and how her brothers or her siblings have handled it in bitter ways or are still bitter about certain things that they cannot change, and how that just shows itself differently in people's lives when it starts to become a thing of not healing from it or not dealing with it. Don't let the past snatch you of the current joy you can be experiencing. And that's not to say don't process, do not feel, do not go through the real emotions, because you have to really feel it and go through it. And there's times where you are completely justified in feelings. I feel like a lot of the time, if you feel things that people associate with being bad or negative, bitterness, anger, jealousy, being upset, whatever the emotion is, it's automatically, oh, don't feel that way, or you feel guilty about it maybe, or it's not a good feeling. But a lot of the time, people are completely valid in feeling the ways that they're feeling due to the situation that happened to them. So when she said that, I was kind of hesitant because even if I were to be feeling bitter right now, like I have every right to feel bitter. But when she explained it, I understood what she meant, basically saying that there is a time to process that and deal with that. But it becomes an issue when you start letting it linger a little bit too long, or it starts infiltrating into other seasons or other parts of your life where it shouldn't necessarily hold that space in your life. It makes me think of how there's a time for everything and everyone's timeline will be different. So do not judge. Long is subjective. What may be long and hard for somebody may not be the same for someone else. And thinking about also how I feel like you can kind of know when things are lingering a little bit too long. It's time to let it go. It's time to move on and let that be what it was and process it. But it becomes to a point where it's a choice if you still continue to hold on to things in a different season way down the line if you never dealt with it. And that's what she was kind of speaking to, of bitterness being a choice, because there's things you can still be bitter or upset about that you cannot do anything about, that can root way back to your childhood. And these are older people. And if you still have your grandparents in your life or older people in your life, I highly encourage you to talk to them, connect with them. I love talking to my grandmother because she has so much wisdom to share. And being old doesn't automatically mean wisdom, but in this case, she is very wise. She has great stories. I love hanging out with her and talking to her. And I'm going to try to get her on here. She doesn't really like talking in front of people, but I'm going to try to get her on here, and hopefully she can share some of those insights with y'all. Number 22, don't make excuses for inconsistencies in your life, whether that be with people or in your routine. Your circle and people who are around you and your routine should reflect where you're going, where you want to go, where you're headed. And the last one, number 23, which is going to be more of just a reflection or recap, thinking back on the year. I got to see some absolute icons and gems this year, and some of my favorites, including Ta-Nehisi Coates for Black History Month. If you do not know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is, he is a Black author and activist. We read him in high school, and I remember I was just so infatuated with his work, and it was great. I got to see Kimberly Crenshaw at Essence. She did an interview, and if you don't know who Kimberly Crenshaw is, these are like really big people in like the advocacy realm, so they were really big to me. But Kimberly Crenshaw is the Black woman who coined the term intersectionality. I got to see Oprah, and she interviewed Vice President Harris, which was really cool at the time, but the Biden and the Harris administration right now are contributing to a genocide, which is not good. So that was cool at the time. And with that, I also got to see the cast of The New Color Purple that comes out on Christmas Day. And it was Oprah, Taraji P. Henson, Fantasia. It was all of the major people in the cast, other than Halle Bailey, because she was probably doing her Little Mermaid thing at the time. So that was really, really awesome. The movie sounds like it's going to be really, really good. They're taking a whole new take on it. I really encourage you to see it if that's something you're interested in. I got to see, meet, and work with Janelle Stevens, who is the founder of Camille Rose, and I was blown away. It was so good. Camille Rose is my favorite natural hair product. They're one of the only natural hair products that are actually still Black owned. She talked about that. She did a panel on Sunday at the end of the weekend that was so good, with a lot of other entrepreneurs and really great Black women in the industry, and not even in the beauty or hair industry, but just in Black culture, period. It was so good. She talked a lot about why she hasn't sold out yet, because there are Black owned brands, quote unquote, they're Black founded brands, but they have sold out, or they've sold to major companies and they're no longer Black owned. And she talked about why she continues to pursue being Black owned and why she hasn't sold out yet, and her mission and where she's come from, and her commitment to authenticity and also integrity. And it was just so good. It was so good meeting her. It was such a fun weekend. Also, she's from Louisiana, so she honored the culture super well. It was a really, really good time, and I really appreciated that. I got to see Beyonce. I did. Went to Renaissance and did in New Orleans. And again, the cameras don't do them justice. Instagram, social media, all that stuff don't do them justice. Beyonce was breathtaking. Like, we know Beyonce is one of the most perfect humans on this planet facially, but she was beautiful. She was so beautiful. It was amazing, breathtaking. And finally, I got to see Angela Davis at the Paramount Theater in Austin in September. And it was wonderful. She was so good. Angela Davis is truly one of my icons. I don't really like to call people idols or anything, but love her. And if you don't know who Angela Davis is, one, go pick up a textbook. Maybe not these textbooks, because it's whitewashed anyway. Go Google. That's Miss Black Panther herself. And it was, oh, she was so amazing. It was so good. One of my goals just in life was, I hope I get to at least see Angela Davis. I would really like to meet her, but I need to see Angela Davis in the flesh speak one time before things happen. And I did, and I still hope I get to meet her one day. But it was so good. She was so good. And not to mention all the personal things that happened, all the personal accomplishments. I graduated college. I got accepted into grad school. I'm going to grad school. What else do you want from me? Those are really, really big milestones, and I'm very proud of that. And despite all the inconsistencies and the lows of the year, there's still so much that fill me up and that I have to be grateful for. I was still blessed in the midst of chaos, in the midst of inconsistencies, in the midst of uncertainty and transitions and processing it all. And I'm so thankful for that and thankful that God really did keep his hand on me and allow me to see through another year. So, with that, 2023, it was a lot. A lot happened. Would I go back? Probably not. But I'm glad that I got to see it through, my boy. And I'm glad that we're here. And I'm so grateful for all the wisdom I got out of it and having another year of knowledge and accomplishments and great things and people. I'm so excited for 2024. And I don't think I've been this excited for a new year really ever the way I am right now. Maybe like elementary school when life was simple, but I'm very, very excited for 2024 and what it can bring. Even with more transitions coming, I'm still excited to see what life has in store. And I hope you are too, even if this year was rough for you, if this year was really good for you, if it wasn't. I hope that you can still be hopeful about the new year and what next year can have in store for you. My question to you, my reflection question, y'all know I gotta leave y'all with something, is what were your glows and grows of the year? If you don't know what a glow and grow is, let me explain. I got this from working with Breakthrough Central Texas summer 2021. We would do this at the end of our days, like at the end of the week, reflecting. We would have our glows and our grows. So our glows were basically our highlights, stuff that happened that was great, times that we felt good, things that were just a really good moment. It can be simple, it can be personal, it could be something that happened in your class, whatever. And then we had growth moments where something that we were striving to be better in, something that we wish would have went a little bit differently, that we still want to learn more about, that we want to grow in, basically. So what were your glows and grows of the year? What are you going to be intentional about in doing in the new year? Those are my questions I'm leaving you with to reflect on, to ponder on, to keep you up tonight. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your year. I will see you in 2024, like fresh into 2024. Y'all basically gonna start your year with me. January 2nd, I'm coming for y'all. Y'all might still be hungover. That's cool. Tune in, watch when you can. But I'll see y'all literally at the top of the year. Bye. Thank you for tuning in again. Have a great rest of your week. I love you.